um, they just raised, I think, about 1.5 million US dollars. So we'll be having the head of sales and revenue growth at PaidHR in person of Kenneth Akan to speak to us about some of the nuances of building partnerships and collaborations in the African tech, HR tech space, as well as his journey into his journey as a sales tech talent in the African tech ecosystem. So welcome, Kenneth, and thank you so much for joining the call today.
Thank you so much, Adekoyejo. Thank you so much to you. I really do sincerely appreciate the invitation that you and Dara and the entire team have extended to me. I do not take it for granted. And good evening to everyone on the call. My name, as introduced, is Kenneth Akan. Please permit me to share my screen. I would be, just let me know when you can see my screen.
Yes.
Alrighty. Okay, so it's a delight to be here. I think I should just go straight into the conversation. Where do I start? It's very difficult to, something is not right. Give me a second. Let me stop sharing and share again. Let me share. I'll just share my entire screen. Let's share my entire screen. So can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Alrighty. All right, so my name is Kenneth Akan. I'm privileged to lead the sales and revenue growth team at PaidHR. And today it's a delight to have this conversation with colleagues in the industry. We're talking about building partnerships and collaboration in the African HR tech space. So it's always difficult to ask me to talk about myself. So I like to just summarize it by saying I was born to foster conversations and build relationships so the lives of others are enriched. That is my life's mission. That is my life's purpose. So growing up, I used to see the future of myself holding microphones. And I used to think I was going to be a pastor. So at the age of 16 or 17, thereabouts, I was privileged to be signed up into a Bible school because I thought I was going to be a pastor, And mind you, I was an extreme introvert at the time. I trained to be a pastor eventually, but my parents said I was too young. And I eventually found my calling along the line sometime in school. I realized I was going to be a speaker, a trainer. So I realized I was going to develop myself for other people. So this has been my life's path. I like to be of value to anybody I find myself, anybody I meet. I don't like to leave you the same way I meet you. The investment on my personality should rub off on whoever I meet per time. So yeah, for the conversation this evening, what we'll be talking about is we'll just talk about a little history of the African HR tech industry, the trends today, how digital transformation is causing the growth and the demand for HR solutions today. The importance of partnerships, of course, we'll delve into that. And we'll look at successful examples of partnerships and collaboration outside of HR tech now, but in Africa, and see how much of a game changer it is. Then we'll talk about identifying potential partners and why the importance of cultural alignment and understanding in partnership, especially for local markets. Then I'll also invite you all to partner with us at PaidHR, and we'll end this. So as a brief history, I've broken this down into 4 categories. So we have early days, we have digital transformation as a subject, we have the growth of startups and how COVID impacted, and of course the trends today. So the early players in the HR space, HR tech space globally, has been said the first major player in the HR tech space was IBM Punch Card. And this was in the early 90s, so maybe between 91 and 96. IBM is a global solution, of course. You remember IBM. And what the IBM Punch Card was used to do at the time was used for managing time and attendance. Before the advent of modern all that stuff, Every other thing was done manual. There was spreadsheets, and those spreadsheets were they're like a table, a large table. So that's where Excel came from. It was spreadsheets. So you're imputing whatever your benefits, your whatever it is you're using to manage your people. And the early adopters of HR tech in those days, three companies, Pfizer, Dell, and I think HP. Microsoft was a late adopter. Those who adopted technology early to manage people operations globally now was Pfizer, Dell, and HP. But in Africa, it didn't catch up early. It didn't catch up early. To a large extent, I would say it was from COVID, 2019 into COVID, that it became a thing. So of course there were several HR solutions before that time, but it was I'll get to that. I'll get to that shortly. So HR tech in Africa began with basic, the most basic things, payroll and employee management. I remember my dad is a retired police officer, and sometime in 2004, I would go collect his salary on his behalf at the police station many years ago. And that was my first time seeing, when tailors use long rulers to measure to mark chalks on clothes. That was the way they were using markers to mark your name. You were present to work this entire 30 days or whatever it was calculated, and they would tick, the markers and count your money in cash and give to you. So there were many inaccuracies, there were errors and all of that, it was inefficient. But with the rise of digital transformation, and I always say digital transformation is not about technology. Actually, there were 5 pillars of digital transformation when it began initially. The 5 pillars of digital transformation that I recall was CCDIV: competitors, customers, data, innovation, and value. But today it is changing, and I'll show you a little map of what it looks like, or a diagram of what it looks like today. So the rise of digital technology, African organizations began to adapt and are adopting more advanced HR systems, for recruiting, so one of those early movers in that space was Jobberman, the African talent company today, Jobberman, in helping people. So we now realized that recruiting people or putting adverts was not a problem, because for every one role you have, there are 1,000 people looking for that job. So we now had to look for a way that we can help people recruit thoroughly. And that's how Seamless HR was born, by the way. By the way, I worked with Seamless HR for a bit. So how did the story of Seamless start? There were, I think, one of the founding members of Seamless HR was with Jobberman at the time. And so they were helping companies to, automate recruitment. And the companies were saying, can we look beyond recruitment? Is the way to even to automate how to put job ads out there? We have gone beyond that. We want a way to make this hiring process or recruitment process simpler, more seamless. That's how the word came about, So the need for automating recruitment, performance management, employee engagement was what gave birth to companies saying, what, let's find a way to do it. Can you use Excel, use certain those keywords we always use in Excel. We use Excel to do it. Oh, can we find a solution that do it? Oh, no, we can't. So the guys that had money those years, the banks, were using solutions like Oracle, SAP, Microsoft Dynamics came in later, but it was Sage, Oracle, and SAP at the time. But these were very expensive tools, but they were not customized to our local context. You see, I know a lot of organizations today that use these tools, but they are using something else for their HR. It meets the need of your procurement, of your admin, of your whatever it is you want to do. But when it comes to local context for managing people, it doesn't. Those systems were not built with us in mind, which is what leads to number 3, the growth of startups in Africa over the last decade have looked at, some people came out of the bank, some came out of consulting that were using this very high-end, expensive tool to say, what, HR is always complaining, we are spending so much top dollar to acquire this tool, but it's not serving us. Now people are leaving the banks and are going to work into Switch, they're going to work in smaller consulting companies, and are thinking, how can we create something that can help HR work, HR life easier? So the growth of startups generally, more people who are more exposed to technology now want to solve their problems their own way. And that's how it led us from the early 2010, 12, 15, all the way to 2018, 19. Then COVID was, the breakthrough season for technology in Africa. A lot of companies had to find a way to work. We had to survive and still be able to manage people. So that gave birth to companies like Seamless HR. You had XC365. You had System Specs. They have a HR solution as well. Then you have Bento and all of the likes. You know, PaidHR was just, I think, one of the youngest among them. I think PaidHR and maybe one other one. You know, so COVID accelerated growth for companies that were seeking to manage their employees and working remotely. And of course, coming to the latest trends, the trends we have today, the direction everybody is going in is AI, using AI to leveraging AI to better manage people, to better improve your processes, you know, so a lot of companies now are now emphasizing on employee experience, but much more is employee engagement. So that migration, that movement, that upward shift from just employee experience to employee engagement, but there's a missing link. It is how much attention do you pay to your employee benefits? It is only a person that has been properly paid, well remunerated, that can be engaged and will give you good feedback on the experience it's having. So that's what gives birth to a company like PaidHR. And like Adekoyajo introduced earlier, the name changed from PADEHCM to PaidHR because the vision was bringing together HR and payments because it's incomplete without, you know, one without the other. So what you have today is a lot of companies focus on performance, a lot of companies focus on recruitment, a lot of companies focus on several things. We've decided to say, you know what, we'll take the core, the most important parts of HR and merge it with how employees receive and manage their finances together. So that's what has led us where we are today. So the HR tech landscape in Africa has evolved, like I mentioned, and there are several factors that contribute to that. So first off is the pandemic, which I said accelerated the adoption of remote work. You know, it necessitated, I mean, I remember at that time, I didn't go to the office for almost a year. From March 2020 till maybe almost 2021 February, nobody was in the office, but we're doing appraisals, we're doing all of those things with a tool. So some started with Excel, but Excel became cumbersome. Something had to give. We had to find a way to solve our own problems. Then also the rise of tech-savvy workforce. So more than ever before, we have a more tech-savvy generation. So Africa boasts of the youngest, most dynamic workforce, making it ideal for technology to come into play. You know, I was mentioning to someone the other day, we went to do a presentation to a government to adopt HR tool. And I was saying we have different generations in the workplace, but what brings us all together is technology. Because you could be a 24-year-old person in the workplace today, maybe in civil service, and your next seat colleague could be 62, and you're all colleagues. And so if that person today comes into a private organization and it's a first name basis, it will be difficult because how can you call her Abimbola when you have to, you know, she's older than your mom, probably. But with technology, a lot of things, I don't have to come and ask you for leave. I can, you know, apply for leave on a tool that's been created. I don't have to come and ask you to approve my whatever it is I need to do because, you know, you have God complex. So that generational one, the workplace today, technology helps to solve it a little bit because certain things I don't have to have interface with you. You don't have to like me. My numbers are my numbers. My KPIs are set for me. Did I do this? I impute it, yes or no. How, to what extent? What's the proof that I did this? You know, so gone are the days where you say, oh, my boss did not promote me because he does not like me. Technology is an enabler. It's a leveler, really. Then also like I mentioned, the rise of the startup ecosystem has resulted in the growth of this industry, of this tech HR tech space. And most importantly, the investment in technology. So I was looking through some data and I realized that since 2020 till now, tech ecosystem, the HR tech space has attracted some interesting investments. I couldn't get the exact number, so I don't want to give you a wrong number at this time, but around 7 companies have raised money from investors, and very good money. Yesterday, something interesting happened. We had MoneyPoint Group becoming the latest unicorn in Africa. They raised $110 million in their last Series C, the Series C funding that they just did. And I don't think there's anybody more excited in MoneyPoint than I am. I don't have any friend. I'm not an employee there, but I just feel so excited that it validates that there are still opportunities, right? If a payment service company helping to drive financial inclusion can make money despite the likes of OPay, Kuda, and all of them in the market, they're still growing. There's still room for growth. It's validation, you know. So growth for one means there's possibility for growth for all if you get your act together, if you get to act right. So now just talking about digital transformation, today there is hardly any organization in the world, or let's even narrow it down to Africa, that is not positioning itself for growth. That's not talking about digital transformation, you know. Some people call it digital, some people call it digital. I don't know which one that helps you sleep. Digital transformation. But I think it's about technology. So like I mentioned before, the 5 pillars that, you know, when digital transformation became a thing around 2016 to 2018, the godfather of digital transformation today is someone called Professor David Rogers from Columbia Business School. He came up with the terminology. He founded that word and wrote 2 books about, I think 3 books now about it. It was 5 pillars: customer, competitor, data, innovation, and value. So let me now join it together for you. How do you use the data? Now, mind you, data is the D word in the middle. How do you use data or information you have from your customers or from your competitor to drive innovative value for your customers? So remember I said the 5 initial pillars of digital transformation are CCDIV: competitor, customers, data, innovation, and value. So listen to how I join it together. How do you take advantage of information, or in this sense, data from your competitor to drive innovative value, to drive value with innovation for your customers? So now every organization had to now define what digital transformation meant to it before anything else. So it is not about technology. It's not about going to cloud. It's one of those things you do. It is a mindset. It is culture. So look at how digital transformation might play out today. It's your strategy and vision. It's your people and culture. It's your process and governance. Then you now go to technology. So today, your HR tool generally can help you with this. So people normally would see that there's a mindset when you have the generation, is it Generation X they call them now? When you're talking about selling HR tool to them, they say, oh, it's a cost center, I beg, we can do it with Excel. But how do you get data? So when I meet a CEO, for instance, in an elevator, and I want to do an elevator pitch to a CEO, and ask him a typical question like, what is the average performance of your entire organization, quarter to quarter, month on month, or year on year? Most times, 99% of the time, a lot of them do not know and do not know where to source that information from. If I ask you what's the average performance of your entire organization, so if your organization is performing at 68%, if you have a tool that puts that together for you and you have an ambition to hit, say, 10 billion naira in revenue at the end of 2025, and your average performance for as an organization is maybe 68 or 72%, you can actually project to say, if we can ramp up performance maybe to an 80%, we're certain that every month, if we break down our yearly goal into monthly bits, we'll be able to hit this, and by October, we should know that we maybe may have crossed our target or not. Or you see different, it just helps you, provide an overview of your business to know what you should pay attention to. You know, and that's why the growth in the HR tech space has not even started, really. Because if you look at it, tool today, it helps you with how you are ensuring compliance, that people understand the strategy and the vision of the organization. It helps you to better improve your people, operations, your culture. And it also helps you with your digital innovation, change management. You need to have oversight over all of those things. And of course, you know, what technologies you're going to use per time, what tool, which one helps us. We're doing OKRs in our business, we're doing BSC, what tool helps us, you know, to solve all of those problems. Now, to the importance of partnerships. Partnerships can help to accelerate product development, enhance service offerings, and provide access to new markets. They're about leveraging collective strengths to innovate and scale rapidly. So the emphasis on how partnership can drive growth and innovation, especially in the HR tech space, you know, it's by combining resources, expertise, and networks together. I'll give an example. Like I mentioned, I'm excited for Money Point. Why? One of the reasons why I'm excited is because we are partners with Money Point. And today, as it stands today, remember I've mentioned quite a number of amazing, very interesting HR payroll organizations in Nigeria. So I'd like to also use this opportunity to correct a notion a lot of people have. So when they come to PaidHR, they want to see a demo. They first come and they start to slander, I've used these guys, they are rubbish. And I always say, no HR provider slander would be tolerated because technology is not a joke. It's not beans. Technology is not cheap. It can be affordable, but it's not cheap. If you look 20 years down the line, 20 years before now, there are many things we would see on our computers. I can still remember very well the first time I ever saw a computer. We had to go into a computer room in my secondary school, take off your shoes and enter the computer room. I'm not so old, but I went to school on time. And we'll see certain things on maybe watching movies or just looking at the computer. And we'll say, maybe I'm not a Yoruba person, but there's a balance that I heard many times. We'll say these white people are witches, they are wizards. These people, they're magic. To see where technology was always exported and dumped on us. I mentioned Sage, I mentioned Oracle, I mentioned SAP. Those technologies were built outside here in Europe and were dumped on us. We just had to cope with it, whether it worked or not. And fast forward 20 years after, between 2020 and 2024, we are now, as a people, building our own solution, indigenous solutions to solve our indigenous problems that are fit enough to solve problems for other people in other parts of the world. So now technology, the world has come full circle. We are now exporting technology. We're now exporting talent, tech talent across the divide. What a time to be alive, I always say. So the need for partnerships cannot be overemphasized. There are several products are yet to be built because we are still thinking myself, not ourselves, not us, our problem. So my CTO will always say, it is not PaidHR against Bento. It is not Seamless HR against PaidHR. It is all of us together as an industry solving inefficiency in the workplace today. Because as it stands, Africa is the most unproductive continent in the world. And we have the largest population of young people. The average age in Nigeria is between 17 and 19. And a lot of our people are not productive because there's several things competing for your time at work. You're looking at the salary is not even enough, first of all. So you're thinking of how to do 3 or 4 jobs at the same time. You're moonlighting to make ends meet. So we're very unproductive. And if organizations are going to bring out money to pay people that work for them, it's important that those persons are actually monitored, not monitored, but their performances are tracked to be ensured, am I underpaying or overpaying you? That's another question I ask business leaders when I engage them to use a tool. Say, for instance, adopt a performance management tool. How are you certain that you are not underpaying anybody? And how are you sure you are not overpaying some people? So let me just talk about 2 partnerships across Africa in different spaces. So this is telecom and healthcare. So in, I think it was 2020 during COVID, Aspen Pharmacare is a company in South Africa, and Johnson & Johnson is a global organization. So I think it was during the COVID pandemic, Aspen agreed to work with Johnson & Johnson to manufacture the AD26 vaccine. I think it was called the AD26 COV25, something like that, and the facility was situated in Aspen's city. I think that was in Port Elizabeth in South Africa, something like that. Instead of us relying on vaccines coming from Europe or from Asia, and in America was slowly responding, but to solve our own problems in Africa. These are supposed to be competing brands, but they came together to say, you know what, let us solve problems for our own people and bring a manufacturing and distribution plant here. We have the distribution, they have the expertise, and they brought that to South Africa, and they were able to produce about 300 million doses of vaccines annually, bringing the global expertise of a Johnson & Johnson with the local distribution power of an Aspen in South Africa. So this was a South African thing, but of course, the rest of Africa benefited massively from the vaccines that were produced. Then the Vodacom and Safaricom partnership in 2019. M-Pesa was a thing in Eastern Africa, in Kenya. M-Pesa began as a way to transfer money through USSD. It started in 2007, if I'm not mistaken. It was a pilot project in Kenya initiated to help people transfer money in a secure and convenient way, because the banking system, just think about the banking system in 2007 till now. I remember then you would go and queue. It was a terrible thing. If you think you have queues in the bank now, just look back. 2007 was a mess. So there was a joint venture between Vodacom. They announced that they were going to accelerate the growth of M-Pesa. And they both had, full control of how the M-Pesa brand. If you see here, you have the Vodacom M-Pesa logo and the Safaricom M-Pesa logo. So this was supposed to be competing people. I am Safaricom, local. Vodacom is a global brand. Why should I be partnering with you? But they looked at a problem that joined us together. So sometimes I always say the difference we all have is that we are the same. We have different challenges, and that's what makes us all the same. The fact that we're all different is what makes us all the same. So they came together in East Africa to solve a problem, not minding that we are playing in the same space. So I'm looking forward to a future where in Africa, we would stop this whole, it is us against them. It is us together solving our own problems, us together solve against the problems that challenge us as a people, And the one thing we will bring together, it will bring about, so for instance, this Safaricom Vodacom partnership brought about massive financial inclusion for Kenya. I think Nigeria was playing catch up, and I think Nigeria is still playing catch up. They have about 90% financial inclusion coverage in Kenya. I know their population is not as much as Nigeria, but 90% is a great milestone. In Nigeria, I am not sure we have up to 100 million banked Nigerians. I am not certain. But the likes of Money Points and OPay and all these banks driving financial inclusion in the villages and the most remote part of the country, there could be a wider reach in no time. So identifying potential partners, what are things that are important? Shared value is important. You should look for partners who align with your core values and mission. Very important. Complementary strengths. So, for instance, there's no need for me today to go and compete with a Coca-Cola or compete with the Nigerian breweries. They have the might to kill you. But you might have a product that is innovative, doesn't exist. You might decide to sell to them or partner with them to leverage their distribution strength. Oh my goodness, what's this? So, my apologies for that. So if I have, maybe for instance, I've looked at something I haven't found in Nigeria anyway, coconut water. Maybe just like you have bottled water, I have coconut water, and I start producing that. Or maybe this Wilson's lemonade brand. You can't compete with the Chi. Chi, what's the name now? Chi is even in partnership with Coca-Cola, you see. So there are certain partnerships that you have to look at the complementary, you have to complement each other's strengths. For us at PaidHR, we leveraged partnerships to get this far. Today, in the whole of Nigeria and the whole of West Africa, I dare say, even Africa, if I'm to stretch it, there is no HR and payroll organization that helps you with all your remittances in Nigeria today except PaidHR. You're able to do all remittances, your payee, your whatever it is that you remit, disburse, those things you do. Then, with regards to paying or doing foreign disbursements, PaidHR today enables you make payments or make salary payments into 120 countries in 49 currency. We would not have been able to build that solution in the shortest possible time. So PaidHR is just about 3 years old. I think we'll be 3 in December, thereabouts. But with partnerships, looking at organizations that align with our strategic value, looking at our solution that we can complement each other. Today, we're able to stretch. So when you see organizations that have operations in different parts of the world, NGOs, religious organizations, or whatever it is, and I have a diverse global workforce, they are running to PaidHR today because they can easily just pay salaries from one place. And also, we are working into an arena where for market reach, I have not been to Kenya. Okay, I've been to Kenya just once. But if I need to pay my employees or remit taxes in Kenya today, I have partnerships that's making that happen for me. So how do I mean partnerships? I don't need to go and start creating an office. I can do a joint venture with someone to say, you know what? So we'll take certain percent stake, we'll put up an organization together, we could register together, or you be the face of the company in that area, and I'll be doing this. So my reach will stop here and you start from here. So you can help with market reach as well. And for reputation, you have to look at organizations that have a reputation, they have track record. So For us, our local disbursements is done by, like I mentioned earlier, Money Points. They have a track record of excellence. The chances of your transaction not going through are slim. If it happens, you get a reversal in almost no time. And when we looked at that relationship, it was the best thing for us to do. There were several other partnerships that we could have gone into. There are several banks today in Nigeria that want to be the face of disbursement for us, but there are not too many banks that can guarantee you 70%, what's it called now? That if I transfer funds with your bank, there's 70% chances that you get to where it's supposed to get to. But with an OP, with the Money Point, with the other guys, the speed cannot be denied. Then look at the importance of cultural alignment. Like I mentioned, it's important to ensure that you have cultural alignment with the partners that you want to go into partnership with. Misalignment in culture can lead to conflict. So I remember one time there was a HR provider in Nigeria here that tried to do what we're trying to do, what we've done now. And they announced a very big, there was very big announcement everywhere around the country. Oh, this company is now in partnership with this company to get certain things done. But in less than 4 weeks, that partnership did not see the light of day because there were certain underlying things that could not be taken care of. There are several people that have come to say, oh, we have now built a HR solution. HR is not very easy to build. Till today, no bank has been successful in building a payroll product because you can't compare a team of 100 people working night and day to specialize in one area with your 2,000-man IT team that's spread across different services supporting a client base of, say, 8 million bank account holders or owners. So you can't compare a small team of even 25 that's working night and day, and their bread and butter is to build a solution that works compared with your 6,000-man IT team that has to do several other things. So it's important to have the understanding of local markets as well. So for instance, we'll start our East African operations shortly, and we're working with experts that have been doing this for 20-something years. We see our values align, our goals align, they have market knowledge, we have a solution that works. And I was in a meeting recently with a global HR solution from Asia. They have, I don't want to mention their name because we have not NDA reasons. They have a strong reach, close to 400 customers in Nigeria from Asia, and they do not provide payroll solutions. Now, what we have done is we've built the Rolls Royce of payroll solutions in Nigeria today. We've built the WordPress of payroll solutions in Nigeria today. So that means it can be white label. So they decided to adopt our solution, and in no time, they just later it's same brand. They can now extend payroll services to their customers they already have in Nigeria, even though they are in Asia. So there's more. So today we've seen partnerships in finance, we've seen partnerships in insurance, in health. But what's the future of partnerships for HR tech? Is it in compliance? Is it in providing credits? Because I checked one time and they said the access to the African worker, access to credit for the African worker today from the employee is at 2%. So there are opportunities in those areas. So I remember one time I worked in a business that does KYC compliance, and I brokered a partnership with a HR tech organization at the time, and it was to extend KYC guarantor check services to a HR provider. So once you come on board a company, you're signed up as a staff. From your HRIS, your HR person can actually just request for those services. I want to verify your NIN, I want to verify your BVN, that your account number is yours, all of those kind of stuff. Instead of going to a third party, I can do it on the system. So those kind of partnerships are already, existing. We've seen how fintech has played a huge role in helping to how people get their salaries in no time. As against, I will send an instruction to the bank. It might take 2 or 3 days to land. These days, with its tool like PaidHR, once your payroll is run, you can get it in seconds. And insurance, we're seeing a lot of insurtech companies trying to partner with HR tech companies. So you can provide HR insurance services to people that work in a certain organizations. We're seeing that already at play with HMOs and all that. So the question is, what is the future of partnerships? PaidHR is open to partnering with you if you decide to. Like I mentioned, we've built the WordPress for payroll in Africa. Today, you can just come and take what we've built, put your brand on it, and run with it. And this has seen us grow times. This is seeing us grow. We have projected our growth in the next 1 year that we're going to grow times 10. With the current conversations we are having right now, the minimum we can do with the current conversations is times 1,000%, times 1,000. times 1,000, we've grown times 10. But what we're seeing from our current conversations and what our partnerships have opened us to is about 1,000% increase. So I'd like to invite potential partnerships. I like people who are interested in this space, because just as we have unicorn in the fintech space, they validate the position that we have, that we can also have unicorn in the HR tech space. It's possible. And I think we are very well positioned as PaidHR to get that done with your partnership, of course. So today we're looking for how to penetrate more governments across the world, across Africa. We're seeing our solution being used in Canada today, in different parts of the world, really. So no need to even mention, I mean, we're in 120 countries right now from our office in Lagos here. I haven't traveled to too many of them, but 120 countries, if you have employees there, they can receive their salaries. The next level of partnership for us is to ensure that for those persons that receive their salaries, they should also be able to pay their taxes as well in those places in no time. So today is about 3 to 5 days, but we're seeing how we can make it faster. And one good thing about what we've done is we have our dollar and pound wallet. So if you use PaidHR to receive a salary today, you are able to convert a portion of your salary into any currency of your choice and move it anywhere you want to move it to. Fantastic. We've brought payment and HR together in one place, and that's the beauty of what we have with partnerships. I'd like to invite you all who have questions. We'd like to take some questions at this point before I call it an evening. So if you have questions, you've enjoyed the conversation, it'd be nice to hear from you, and let's get talking. I would like to answer questions, actually.
Wow. Thank you so much, Kenneth. This has been a really, really insightful session. I mean, I must commend your oratory excellence. In one presentation, you provided a lot of knowledge and insight into the industry, gave us the industry, like spoke about the history of the industry, and as well sold your products to us. So that's actually very nice. So I have a couple of questions. But firstly, before I ask okay, let me just go ahead with the questions. So there was this guy, I don't know if you come across him before. His name is Michael Sibyl. He works as one of the top guys in Y Combinator. He said in a recent interview that the African tech ecosystem is quite small, and we need to, instead of deepening our market or staying in one market, you need to expand to other African countries, right? Now, some people have said that, okay, yes, this is the case, and some other people have proven that this is not the case. For example, MoneyPoint and PiggyVest, both companies have been in the market for about 7 to 9 years before they are now considering expanding to other African countries, right? So in the case of PaidHR is, I think, 4 years. Am I correct?
Thereabouts.
Okay. In the case of PaidHR, when you are trying to get more revenue or scale your revenue operations, would you advise, based on your own experience, that you should quickly expand to other African countries, or you should deepen your markets in your existing countries, like Nigeria?
Interesting question. That's a fantastic question. Thank you very much, Adekoyedo. So it's a two-way answer for me. I would say first, I think there's something called ambidextrosity in business, right? You are able to use your right and left hand at the same time. We have a few people on earth today that can do that. So they're very good with their right hand, and they can do as well with their left hand. Some footballers are very good with both feet as well. So you're ambidextrous. And I think for the century in our generation today, you have to be ambidextrous to survive. But I think the good place and the best place to start is dominate your markets as much as you can. You need to have enough firepower to be able to spread your tentacles. Don't spread yourself thin too early. So yes, Piggy Voice has taken so long to deepen their reach in Nigeria before spreading out. It's always important. But at the same time, you can be doing so much and earning so little. So that's why Forex is important. Let me give an example. Some HR companies today only make revenue from subscription. You know all of them. We are the only ones that I think are making money from several other means apart from subscription. Let me give you an example. One global organization today paid us a certain amount of money. Say they paid us, I won't mention numbers, paid us an amount to use they paid their subscription amounts for the entire year. It was okay, it was fair, but the amount it cost them to process their tax for a month was more than what they paid us for the entire year subscription. Now imagine what they'll be paying to also pay their staff in different countries in Africa. So that processing fee, those conversion to dollars and all of those things, there's more Forex. So with doing Ishekekere, there's Owonla guaranteed for you. But at the same time, you should also be able to dominate your market. So I like to use the money point strategy. OPE came, they want to have 100 million bank accounts in Nigeria in 10 years. And in no time, they were able to do that. Now they're around 50 million active bank accounts in Nigeria and very profitable. They've spread themselves very well, tentacles across the Southwest. But Money Point saw the need for taking this thing head on to the north, right? And they've taken that strategy that OPE came up with, by the way, and saying we're going to take this thing into the most remote part of Nigeria. We're going to do the hard work. And in a short possible time, they're now a unicorn like OPE by doing that hard work of taking it beyond the reach where OPE stopped, right? Now we have looked at the terrain. A lot of companies have been here 6, 7, 8 years, and we can match them product for product, orange for orange, onion for onion. For every layer you turn, we can match them. Because there's an advantage to coming late to the party, because you know what everybody else is wearing. And that's what we've done. So we've looked at the market. So we don't, my strategy as head of sales and revenue, I don't want to spend money on advertising. I want to spend my money on building a product that works, having a formidable machine, a team that can deliver the product to those that require it. Then another thing is, I would let my competitors in the market recruit buyers for me. So today, when you want to talk about performance management, I will personally refer you to Seamless HR. But if you want something apart from performance, you are going to come back to me here at PaidHR. So you see how we've designed it, because we're not competing. If you want the best of payroll, fine, go ahead. You want the best of time and attendance, fine. You want the best of anything, fine. You want the best of everything, you come to PaidHR. So there's an advantage to deepen your knowledge, deepen your reach in your markets, because it helps you get strong. But at the same time, if you want to grow quick and scale fast, scale quick, make money, Forex, you know what our currency is right now? It's one of the most devalued currencies in Africa, if not the world. But with a small company that has just 20 employees across Africa can give me as much revenue as a bank that wants to buy my system. And the bank is only going to pay me for subscription. So yeah, two-way. Both ways would always work.
Well, that's very fantastic. I really like one thing you said, that you should spend your money developing the product rather than spend it a lot or spend a lot of your money on marketing. So I at the moment I work for an international company and I'm the only staff in Nigeria. And when it was time for when I was trying to get the contract of employment from this organization, they had to work with an employer of record, right?
Yeah.
So what did my company do? They they approached a global company that does that. The global company has a partnership with an African company, right? Now the African company now has another partnership with a Nigerian company. So that's 3 levels or 4 levels of different organizations before I need to get my salary paid.
Yeah.
Now this Nigerian company was paying me in Naira. And at some point, the organization felt like, okay, they wanted to start paying the employees in Africa in USD. And this organization, in the employer of record in Nigeria, couldn't meet those requirements because they didn't have FX inflow, so they couldn't pay me in Naira. And that was how we cut off the relationship with this international merchant employer of record.
Yeah.
Now, looking at PaidHR, you guys you mentioned also during your presentation that you now have the capacity to pay people in, I think, 100 and something currencies.
120 countries in 49 currencies.
120 currencies in
No,
49.
so 49 currencies reaching 120 plus countries.
Wow, wow, wow. That's fantastic. So what was that thing that made you guys make that decision? One, and then two, why is it or how has it impacted your business? Has it given you more revenue? Because definitely there are going to be some difficulties in getting those partnerships. There are going to be regulatory concerns when it comes to FX and all of that. So
Yeah.
one is why you guys went that route, and two is how has it been so far? Has it positively affected your business?
Fantastic question. Thank you, Adikoejo. Why? My answer would be why not? So remember, like I said, the advantage of going late to a party is that if you have someone there, you have video calling, you can see what everybody else is wearing and decide to show up and show up big. So we have a young demographic we have the young demographic in Nigeria. Nigerians are looking for jobs everywhere. Like you mentioned now, we are being paid in dollars. God, when? I want to be paid in pounds. And I don't want to be a mechanic. I want to be a baller. You get? So now we have Nigerian businesses that are also spreading. So imagine a Miss K wants to have a business in Kenya. A Fastest Cakes wants to have an office in Kenya. Now they'll start thinking of this thing you have talked about. How do I pay these guys? Regulatory compliance. It's not everything that you can build, and it's not everything that you should build. That's the problem the banks have. When they're spending too much on certain solutions, they say we'll build our own. That's a massive distraction. I think with collaboration, you can actually join hands with someone who's built something that works. Then you cannot agree on terms because it's a massive distraction for a bank to start thinking that I have to build a payroll solution. You're already a bank, for goodness sake, but you can actually pick up something someone has done, integrate APIs and say, you know what, use my platform to run your money. Right? But everybody is trying to build a payroll solution and they will still keep coming and they'll get their hands burnt, they'll waste investors' money and all of those things. Yes. Has it impacted on our finances? Absolutely, yes. Cross-border was launched 2 weeks ago, and the money we have made from cross-border in a short time is almost more than what I've made in the last quarter.
There's so much money for that.
We don't do a salary week, remember? People pay their staff across Africa. But that processing fee, those stuff, they're remitting this, they're making payment, they're doing conversion from dollars into those accounts. Those small money is falling like rain, and that rain is becoming a Katrina. So that's the power of partnership, and that's the power of an idea whose time has come. So yeah.
All right, thank you so much for that. I love the analogy you used about getting late to a party and then knowing what everybody is doing. That's a very, very nice analogy. Now, when there is I'm currently trying to get into the South African market for a payment partnership, right?
Yes.
Or payment acceptance, but I'm looking for a South African company to partner with my organization. And
Okay.
it has been a lot of headache. Now, getting into any other country, there are so many regulatory concerns. There are a lot of scrutiny, KYC, KYB, a lot of things you have to go through, right? At the moment, we've spoken to more than 5 different companies, and nobody has been able to solve this issue for us. And we are losing money every day in South Africa because South Africa is one of our major markets.
Wow.
Now, for you guys, in the HR tech space, are there any regulatory concerns, or is there anything that serves or stands as an obstacle to your business that will hinder your partnerships with any of these companies, like to partner with other HR companies in other countries, or in terms of payment partnerships? Are there any of those regulatory concerns, particularly in Africa?
Beautiful question. Thank you, Adikoejo. Yes, of course. I mean, we are talking about money here for us. Well, handling people's salaries and all that, and you're helping organizations be compliant. So, of course, you would interface one way or the other with regulatory bodies. But like I mentioned, we want to focus on building a product that works. We want to focus on Because what we're in the business of trust, when we're selling peace of mind as a service, and we need to be able to stake our guarantee to say, you know what, if you're using this solution, it's going to work 99% of the time because it's still technology. So we give it that 1% allowance to goof. So what we chose, the route we chose to go was, who are those that are most compliant in their markets doing this thing? So we latch on. We're not the ones interfacing. So I don't want to go into too many company family trade secrets of how our own stew is cooked. But for instance, I'm supposed to make tax payments in Kenya, and the Kenyan government is asking me to register, have Kenyan members on my board, to have an office in Kenya, and I must go through all of those. It will take so much time. It's taking me 6 months. So I'm thinking, what's the fastest route to market? Who is doing that today? Okay, can you do this for me? I have taxes to pay in your country. Can you pay it for me? I want it done in 2 days. Give me an SLA for 2 days. Oh, I'll get it done in 5 days. 5 days for a start, but can we move it to 2 days? Because I need to be able to guarantee excellence. And he's saying, okay, sure. So what's the rate? I will check. Can our customers pay this to get these issues off their chest in less than a second? Just click and your taxes are done and you see your receipts and all of those things. Oh, yes, it works. Do I have to interface with the government at any point? No. Who does that? You do. Voila, let's have a handshake. That's a partnership. In Nigeria, I want to pay salaries to someone in Vietnam, someone in Honduras, someone in Guatemala. And I'm like, okay, so what's the one platform that can help me do all that? And I'm looking through globally. Who's able to, in one stretch, with one push button, I can fund the dollar wallet, and from that dollar wallet, it goes into 150 countries. Who can do that for me today? Let's look at our values. Do we align? What's your vision? What's your strategic direction? Okay, so let's look at several things. Or does it work for us? Why not? Let's try it out. Can our customers pay for that service? They can. We're in business. So we don't have to, tomorrow if the EFC calls us for business, oh, someone has a company in Japan, for instance, or he has 5 employees in Japan and he wants to pay them and he wants to see how the money is being moved. We're not a bank. We don't hold people's money. We're in partnership with people that have banking licenses. So that's the best way that we have gone to markets, because it would take you donkey years to begin to build and solve for X in those different countries. But there are people who have done that today, you know. So I always say 5% of 50 billion is more than 100% of 2 million. So we should always think how to increase the pie so everybody can have good chop than, you know, fighting for me and my family. Market. No, the world is changing and we need to adapt fast. Let's expand the pie. Let's make it big. What partners can we bring on board? Let me get someone to do KYC. You know, so anyone that's on the platform, if you're not compliant, it will be flagged. Tell your HR that guy doesn't have BVN. You know, so you're compliant as an organization. Let's increase the pie so everyone can, you know, have bigger stuff to take home than trying to scramble for a market. As much as Nigeria is, we have about 40-50 million businesses in Nigeria. How many of them have HR tools today? So that's why I don't see anybody as a competitor. Okay, face your side and I'll face my side. You know, but if we come together to do, we can do a faster job. I'll take on one region, you take on one region. By the way, let me let you know that the reason why I said you cannot outcompete in Nigerian breweries is they let you recruit new drinkers for them. So when they want to launch new beer inside the remote village in Damaturu, there are those women that cook brukutu in the junction every evening. So when they come and confirm that these women are brewing alcohol for the young boys in secondary school, all they need to do is just take a trophy or something there, brand it in their language, use the distribution power to outkill. You can't sell. So they'll sell their beer at 200 naira, and you are trying to sell your one small cup of brukutu for 250. So that's the strategy we have looked at. Who are those doing it big scale? Can we leverage their network? Can we leverage their expertise? Looking at the strength of what we've built. And that's why it's interesting to partner with us. When they look at the strength and the quality of what we've built, they're like, where have you been all these years? So let's jump. You know, everybody wants to get in bed with us, but right now, come on. So, but we're selective. So why not?
That's very, very fantastic points. That's a very fantastic point. Now let's come back to competition. Right? You mentioned this scenario about Nigerian breweries. Now, 5-10 years ago, there was Paystack, Flutterwave, and maybe Money Point in the ecosystem with the legacy players like InterSwitch and and unified payments, e-transact, system specs, and
Yeah.
those other guys, right? And then a few years later, we started seeing a lot of people come into the ecosystem, and then there was a lot of competition. People were undercutting. It was a race to the bottom in terms of pricing.
Yeah. Yeah.
For
Yeah.
for um, an industry, or coming from your own point of view, I understand that right now you have many partnerships. You have payment partners, you have HR tech partners. In some sense, it is going to make the products much more expensive, or a little bit more expensive, because person A is going to take his own cut, person B will take his own cut, person C will take his own cut. So at some point, your products may be a little bit more expensive than some other people's own. If in the future, because now everybody is looking at paid HR, looking at seamless HR, like, okay, these guys are making a lot of money in the industry. Some other guys now come into the industry and are charging way less, right? How do you see the future um for paid HR, considering one, that the partnerships you have might have increased the cost of your service or your product, and
Yeah.
then two, how do you think that this competition in future would affect your business
Hmm.
as as a head of sales, business development, and revenue growth?
Profound question. Very profound question. Thank you, Adekoyo. Let me give you a little story here. Many years ago, we had in the Nigerian markets, we had Close Up, we had My, we had Dabo, we had all the likes. And Close Up had 80% share of the Nigerian markets. Dabo came in, McLean, some of them came in. Like you said, it was a race to the bottom. Who was going to sachetize toothpaste? Sachetized it. It was still Close Up that had 80% share of the market. Now, Sensodyne came into the market.
Hello, are you there, Ken? Sorry, is it just me, or can anybody hear Ken?
No, we can't hear you.
Okay, let's give him a few minutes.
I guess I was thrown out. I had internet connection. Can anyone hear me?
Okay, yeah. We
All
can
right.
hear you now.
Thank you. My apologies for that. So yeah, I'll just
Yeah.
continue. So I was talking about how Sensodyne came into the Nigerian market and created new categories of toothpaste. Mind you, I'm saying all of this to say price is a perception of value. Price is a perception of value. Sensodyne came into the Nigerian market, made their toothpaste 4 times more expensive than Close Up, and was able to collect about 16% market share from Close Up. And they were making more revenue than Close Up that was the market leader, because they created value. Pricing is a perception of value. I am not bothered about someone that will come and sell his solution for 15 naira per employee per month. Fine. Are you able to disburse salaries into 150 countries? If you can, let's now be bothered. Or I'll come learn how you're doing it. But if you are able to solve problems at the highest level, people will pay anything for it. Trust me. So what did Sensodyne do differently? Everybody just had, and mind you, the toothpaste that we had in the Nigerian market up till that time was all
cosmetic. It was soap. I hope you know your toothpaste today is soap. But Sensodyne came into the market and came with therapeutic toothpaste. So you had for sensitive teeth, for whatever, for pregnant women, for children, for adults. They created new markets, blue ocean. So what we have done today is to create a blue ocean. Like I said, I mean, it takes guts to say you've built the Rolls Royce of payments, of HR and payroll. It takes guts to say you've built the WordPress. If you're a website developer, you know WordPress is where you do your stuff from. So you'll have a consulting business today. You manage cleaners, you manage security guards. You want to be able to do that efficiently, with speed, with ease. You can decide to tell this company, oh, I've built my own HR solution, and we can power that. So I'm looking at the future where 1/3 of people receiving their salaries in Nigeria, they say Nigeria, would be collecting their salaries through the system built by PaidHR, but not in PaidHR's name. And that's through the power of partnerships. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, fantastic. So you are not going to compete on pricing, you'll compete on value, and your approach or your platform or your approach to competition is providing the best value.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic. That is what some people in the industry have done so far. People like, I mean, in financial services, people like Paystack, and that's why they are where they are today. I believe that is all the questions I have. But before I open up, before I ask the audience for any other questions, I just want to say that I believe you guys in your quest for scaling your operations in your business development team or your sales team, you definitely need more people or more hands, right? So at some point, it will come up that you need to hire more people in sales and partnerships. So if at any point in time you need there are open roles or there are vacancies for in your business development team, we have quite a number of experienced people and also entry-level people in the tech sales and partnerships community that you can leverage. So you could send us a DM, myself, the co-founders, or reach out to us via any of our social media pages on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and then we would publicize your vacancy on the platform. I know you're a member of the community, so you see some of these job posts, but I'm just saying this for other members of this call or other participants of this call who are not members of the community.
All right. So let me just say something. So while you were speaking earlier, you mentioned that PaidHR has raised $1.5 million. Not yet. Actually, PaidHR today in total has about $500,000 in seed capital.
Ooh.
And yes, so we're listen, you see, I don't know how to say it without. I was saying to my CEO yesterday, this is the first time in my life that I'm working for an organization that I can literally die for. With such little resources and a very lean team, we've been able to position ourselves rightly today. We're top 2 HR payroll providers in Africa. So yes, we're looking to raise. We're on the road. It's a road show for us right now. We're having several conversations with people that matter in the ecosystem around raising capital. And we know that once we're able to raise upwards $1.5 million, say, like it was reported, we would definitely have to increase the team. But for now, I'm blessed to have a fantastic team in the sales and revenue division. I'm blessed to have amazing magicians in the engineering team and in marketing and all products and all that, and an amazing leadership team as well. So we're on the road. I'm sure in the next 4 to 6 months, we will make an announcement about having closed out some rounds, and then we will start, coming back to the community to increase the pool of amazing people that we have. So yes, I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, okay. So I just looked at the publication from Tech Habal.
Yes.
Again, it says that you guys are in talks to raise $1.5 million in seed round. You've not actually raised it. Okay.
But yeah,
That's nice. All
if
right,
you have uncles and aunties that have money, they can come and invest.
Definitely. We'll be in touch. All right.
So much.
Okay.
It's
Um,
been
are there any other members of the audience who have questions? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Wow. You must have covered a lot in your presentation. Yeah. Ken.
Alrighty.
Okay. So, all right. So, just a brief introduction to the tech sales and partnerships community, because I can see a lot of faces here who are not members of the community. So, tech sales and partnerships community, we're a community that aims to foster the development of sales talents in tech in the African ecosystem. So, we're a community of over 2,000 members across all our platforms, and we always have these webinar sessions every month. So you could join our community. There is a link in the chat box. You can join our community, our Slack community. We also post quite a number of jobs. We've had people who have gotten jobs from the community, both locally and international jobs. And then we have partnerships with recruitment agencies as well. And we're having a webinar, another webinar tomorrow with scaling. So you can check our social media pages and also in the Slack community to participate in the webinar session with scaling. So that will be all for now. Thank you everyone for joining the webinar.
Can I just say something?
Okay,
Let's say something.
yeah,
I just want to give a shout out to. I'm seeing a lot of people, my people on the call, and thank you everyone that joined. Can I call names? Abraham, I see you. Abimbola, I see you. Ayo Badino. People from PaidHR are here as well. Interesting. I'm seeing